thinker. A young man who left the shores of Ghana in the latter part of the 1800s. His name was Tete Kwashi. He traveled to a small place called Fernando Po in Equatorial Guinea now. He worked as a plantation farmer, almost a slave. He was not a middle-level worker. He was not a high-level worker. He was just a worker. But when he left Fernando Po, he brought with him a few cocoa pods. Incidentally, he came from Teshi. But he went to the mountains, the Abri Mountains, went to Kropong, eventually settled in Mampong, planted his first seeds from the cocoa that he brought. He didn't have much success. Very early, by 1879, he planted the first seeds in Mampong. By 1891, that is between 1879 and 1891, that's about 12 years, Ghana exported its first cocoa. 12 years after the first man planted the first seed, we exported the first cocoa. Can you imagine how many bags we exported? 2 bags. But by 1910, from 1879 to 1910, that is just about 31 years, is that right? 31 years. Ghana had become the leading producer of cocoa. Between 1910 and 1980, Ghana was the world's largest exporter of cocoa. The cocoa industry became the foundation of our economy. Currently, more than 40% of all our export earnings come from cocoa. It occupies about 10% of our gross national product. Why am I giving you all these statistics? Because one man carried the economy of a country on his shoulders. A generational thinker is one who is able to sow seeds for the future. A generational thinker is not somebody who is only committed to what he wants to enjoy today, but somebody who says, if I run with this race, I must make sure the next generation does not run my race. The next generation must run its own race. I must empower the next generation. A generational thinker thinks beyond his personal needs. They sow seeds for the future. A generational thinker must plan at least for 4 generations ahead of him. If you read the Bible, every blessing of God, he says, is to the 3rd and 4th generation. When God blesses you, it has generational consequences. In the same way, if he curses you. If we are going to take charge of the future, we have to be generational thinkers. That means that for everything you do, you have to think of the person who is coming after you. And make sure the person coming after you will not be worse off, but will be better than you are. In very, very little things that we do. We must build capacity for the future. And we must power the next generation. A generational thinker, which is what I'm asking from you today, is a person who says, my life is not just about me, it's about the person coming after me. If you are a generational thinker and you even go to the restaurant to eat food and it's a buffet, you think about the person who is coming after you, not yourself alone. So you don't clear all the food on the buffet table simply because it's available to you. A generational thinker says, when I leave, the next person coming after me should not be empty. A generational thinker says, it's not just about me. I must make sure those coming after me have it easier than I had it. A generational thinker says, I want people to stand on my shoulders to go higher so that in their generation they'll be greater than me and my generation. In little ways, when you are a generational thinker, when you have used something and you are giving it to somebody else to use, you give it to the person in a better shape than you found it. A generational thinker says, if you rent a house and you are leaving the house after your rent is over, you keep the house in a good condition and you paint it so that the next tenant does not have to come and repair your problems. A generational thinker says, if I go for a public gathering like this one and I drink water, I don't want to give a burden to the next group. I want to make sure I carry my own burden so the next generation does not start by carrying my burdens. A generational thinker is thinking about the next person on the line. I'm telling you, Africa, I'm telling you, my friends, if we want to make an impact, we have to stop just thinking about ourselves. We have to be generational. We have to invest into the future.